Hello and welcome. My name is David Batty and I'm here to talk about intrinsic motivation in youth aged 12 to 17, taking our youth to the next level. What is intrinsic motivation? Villard said that intrinsic motivation is engaging in an activity for itself and the satisfaction derived from participation. Today we're going to split this into three components. The first component is intrinsic motivation towards accomplishment. Intrinsic motivation towards accomplishment is the satisfaction derived from learning a new skill. A great example of this would be a tennis player learning a new shot or being able to actually play that shot in competition. Intrinsic motivation towards knowledge, on the other hand, is experiencing new things or learning or exploring. An example of this would be somebody who developed a new tactic that gained an advantage over their competitors. The third component of intrinsic motivation is intrinsic motivation towards experiencing stimulation. This is to do with the sensory pleasure of actually doing any task. When it comes to sport, it would be to do with an athlete experiencing the joy that comes from competition. Next, we're going to talk about an overview of the strategies that we're going to use to increase the intrinsic motivation of the youth. First of all, as you can see, we've split it back into those three components that we were talking about: accomplishment, knowledge, and experiencing stimulation. So first of all, when it comes to accomplishment, what we're going to use is we're going to use a bit of individual goal setting, making sure that the youth are actually looking at the goals for themselves and things that they actually want to do for themselves. This is going to help increase that internal component. When it comes to knowledge, we're going to actually teach them a new range of skills. We're going to actually make sure that the activities are based on the goals that they have set for themselves. When it comes to the experiencing and stimulation side of things, what we're going to do is make sure that all our interactions are actually using a bit more positive feedback and making sure that the youth are actually enjoying everything that they're doing. Now that we've outlined what our strategies are going to be, let's break those strategies down just a little bit more so that we actually understand what we're going to do with those strategies. Our first strategy was individual goal setting. Now let's have a look at different ways to actually do some goal setting. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some SMART goal setting. SMART goal setting stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Now the specific component of these goals is to make sure that the goal is specific to what we are actually trying to achieve. Make sure it's actually something that's not just a little bit too airy, like I want to get fit. Make sure it's something more like I want to do 10 push-ups in 2 minutes. We've got to make it measurable. We've got to make it something that is actually how much or how many. We've got to make sure that the person knows when they've accomplished this. We've also got to make sure our goals are achievable. There's nothing worse than actually having a goal that actually is going to set our athletes back because that athlete has lost confidence in themselves. We've got to make sure that the goal will actually work towards what they want to achieve. We've got to also make sure that these goals are realistic. And when I'm talking realistic, I mean I don't want to see pie-in-the-sky type goals where people think that they're going to jump 10 meters in the air. We all know that's not realistic. So what we've got to look at is something that's a little bit more realistic. So I want to be able to do a 50 centimeter box jump or something along those lines. Then you've got to actually set a time limit to this. We've got to actually make sure that the person understands that they've got a time limit to this so that they actually work towards it and they're not just actually lazing around. This is especially important in youth. We're also going to have to make sure that the goals are not related to just winning. We want to make sure that the goals are related to something that they can achieve for themselves, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch. We want to make sure that all our goals are actually heading our athletes towards the future where they're going to actually enjoy their sports. Now we're going to carry on to strategy 2. This is where we're actually going to introduce a range of skill-based activities to make sure that our athletes are actually challenged on a skill level. For this, what we're going to do is make sure that we're able to actually get some confidence out of our athletes by letting them achieve new goals that we have set up in our individual goal setting. Prominent motivational theories hold that positive ability beliefs are important prerequisite for experiencing intrinsic motivation. So having a look at this means that when we're actually we're doing an activity and we're able to actually succeed, that we're bringing it as an internal component, that we have more belief in ourselves and the ability to compete at that level. Our third strategy is looking at positive feedback. Positive feedback can be given by anybody when it comes to things like sport or even in the home. Positive feedback when it comes to our youth, though, is going to be something that actually builds their confidence and it builds their belief in what that they want to do, not only on the field but off the field to actually accomplish their goals. With our positive feedback, we've got to make sure that our athletes are heading towards where they want to go, so that if we do need to actually give them some kind of correction, that we actually help them by adding that positive element to the end of it. So it'd be like somebody who's missed the ball when it comes to baseball. They take a swing, we say, better luck next time. But what we can do is tell them what they did right in that swing, not necessarily just what they did wrong. So we can do almost a layering approach. We can actually involve the first part where we say what was good about their swing. The second component is what they could improve with their swing. And the third would be the outcome, the positive outcome at the end, if they can do all those things together. A study that has shown that positive feedback actually works really, really well with athletes was conducted by Shalendouri and Saleh. This actually showed that fostering that positive, encouraging environment actually helped athletes to stay with the sport for longer and make sure that they actually keep on competing at a higher level. Finally, let's look at what we were trying to achieve by increasing that intrinsic motivation in our youth. With the intrinsic motivation that we're trying to help them build, we're going to show that they can achieve bigger and better things for themselves, show them that they can live healthier and happier lives, and make sure that they keep that confidence in themselves so that they continue to participate in sport and make sure that they're looking to actually compete with themselves, not necessarily with everybody else. What I've added to the end of this is a bit of a video that Michael Jordan produced for an ad, which actually shows what he thinks of intrinsic motivation and how he would actually show that to a youth. The last page here, as you can see, is our references, so I'll just leave that up for a little bit so that you can have a look.